Hey guys, today I'm going to be educating you on perspective. If you hear the word perspective and you're like, then this video is for you. Okay, let's get started. The first thing we're going to cover is 1-point perspective. There are 3 different types of perspective that I'm going to cover in this video, and we're going to start with 1 point. Okay, what we're going to do is draw a horizon line and put a dot on it. This dot is called the vanishing point. And what a vanishing point is basically all of your perspective lines are going to point towards this thing and they're going to converge at this point. So here I'm going to do a basic square. That's as good of a square as I can get. So what's going to happen is I'm going to connect all the corners of the square back to the vanishing point. And once you connect the corners, now what you're going to do is you're going to cut out the shape of the cube that you're trying to draw. So let's find the edge of the cube. Now there's the vertical edge and there's the horizontal edge. Okay, and once we set this out, we can trace the cube over and look at that. You have a cube in 3-dimensional space. And what's cool about this is you don't have to put it under the horizon line. You can put it on top of the horizon line. You can put it like pretty much anywhere you want on the page. And here is another cube, right? Same logic, following the same steps. And you can do this basically anywhere on the page. And here I am playing around with some floating cubes. And you can also do different shapes like a triangle or a cylinder. So this is it. This is 1-point perspective. Now moving on to 2-point perspective. And it's all in the name. 2-point means 2 vanishing points. So we're going to do a horizon line again. And we're going to put down 2 separate points. So here's point number 1 and point number 2. Once you have the 2 points down, now you can find the middle edge of the cube that you're going to draw. So here is my edge. And what you're going to do is connect each end of the you have to be able to connect it. So there you go, connect it. And I can't draw a straight line apparently, but yeah, connect the ends of the line, the middle line, to your vanishing points. And now when you have this, figure out where you're going to cut out the cube. So here's this another vertical line where I'm going to determine is the edge of the cube. And once I set this line, I'm going to connect the ends, the tops of these lines, back to the vanishing points, and they're going to be connecting to the opposite vanishing points, right? So now once we trace this shape out, look at that, we have a cube. We can erase the exterior lines, the grid that we were basing this off of, and look at that, that's a cube in 2-point perspective. And I'm going to do a second one on top of the horizon line. So this one is going to look like it's floating, and it's basically the same logic as the first one. Find the middle edge and then find the outer edges and then connect the edges to the opposite vanishing points. And once you have that, you can trace the shape out and look at that, you have a floating cube, and that is 2-point perspective. So now moving on to 3-point perspective, and it's exactly as the name says, it's 3 vanishing points. And it's not going to be as hard as it seems. So we're going to start again with a horizon line and 2 vanishing points. And we're going to find the edge of the cube that we're going to draw. Okay. And once you do this, it's pretty much the same process as you would do for a 2-point perspective. So you would connect the ends of this line back to the vanishing points. And then you would find the edge of the cube. So the outer edges of the cube. And I'm just going to mark them right there, and I'm connecting them back to the opposite vanishing points. But what's going to be different is we're going to add a 3rd vanishing point to the bottom. Okay, and what this is going to do is we're going to be connecting the outer edges of the cube back down to this vanishing point. And same thing, we're going to just trace over the outlines of the cube, and now you can see it's really coming together. It's looking like a very exaggerated perspective. And I'm just going to show you guys where you might be able to use 3-point perspective. Okay, so here is going to be a little city scene, and we're looking at it from the sky, top down. And here's building number 1. Notice how I'm following the 3-point perspective grid loosely, but I'm still following it. And there's building number 2, building number 3 right there. And we're going to put a little street at the bottom and Spider-Man swinging from the sky. So there is my Spider-Man. That is the best I can do. And he is swinging from a web down into the city. Okay? And now you too can draw Spider-Man. And demonstration number 2, I'm going to do a 1-point perspective. I'm going to be applying this to a little train yard scene or a train station scene. So here is going to be the front of the train. Okay, I'm drawing the front of the train, and notice how I put down the perspective grid first, because it's important to know the angles of all the edges that you're going to be drawing. And what's really interesting is if you look at the spaces between these grid lines, you're going to see that as they get closer to you, the spaces also get bigger and things get smaller as they get further away. So this is like the same logic in real life, right? If you're looking at something close to you, it's going to be way bigger than if it were farther away. So this is a good thing to keep in mind. This is important because we're drawing on a two-dimensional surface. We're not able to actually convey real depth. So we have to keep in mind the things that make things look like they're in three-dimensional space and lie to our audiences and make them think that our drawings are three-dimensional when they're actually not. And take note of the windows on this train. I'm also following the perspective lines for them as well. So you want to make sure that every detail you put on your object is following the same perspective grid as your actual object. Okay, so now moving on to the right side, I'm going to demonstrate some common mistakes that I see a lot of people make that make their perspective look a little bit off. Okay, so here I'm doing another train, and we're going to do a perspective grid here. So that's the correct perspective grid, but I'm going to show you what happens when you don't follow it. So here is the exterior line of the train. Look at that. It's like completely off the grid now, and it almost looks like the train is turning. Now if that's what you're going for, great, but we want the train to look like it's sitting on the same track as the one on the left, right? So here is an even worse example. This is like, oh my goodness, what are you doing? And I'm going to set up a scene here with the station in the back, so you can see that just how out of place this train looks now because of that angle on the top, right? So let's erase that and let's change it back to the correct angle, following back to the vanishing point. And look at that, as soon as we do this, we have a scene with a correct perspective, and it looks like we're actually there. So this is Perspective 101, guys. I hope you've been educated, and thank you for watching.